So, you're thinking of this teacher, this disheveled person. What are they there for? Guiding young minds? Are they creating our collective future? Some of you are less soppy, so you'll be thinking, educate, pass on knowledge. But I think you're wrong. I think that the modern teacher has one purpose and one purpose alone, and that's to manufacture exam results. And it's for that reason that I want to ban teachers. So I used to be a teacher myself. I'm afraid I'm one of that 40% that quits the profession within the first 5 years. And I'd wanted to be a teacher since I was 15. If you'd have asked me, I'd have said I was doing it because it was my moral purpose. I wasn't the best teacher in the world. Oh, I did get a mug that contradicted that. But I wasn't the worst either. I, like everyone else, was working my 12-hour days, my 65-hour weeks. I founded a school, which is now one of the best in the country, and I was well on my way to a leadership position before I was 30. So why did I leave? And why am I asking you to ban teachers? Well, I'd always expected to be dealing with difficult children. I'd always expected to be working on a shoestring budget. I'd even expected the long, sleepless nights of marking. What I didn't expect was to be reading from a literal script. I didn't expect that in an expressive writing lesson, I'd be handed a book written by an American and told to read from it. I didn't expect that after qualifying as a teacher, I'd be stood in front of 11-year-olds and going, pick up your pen, put your finger on question 1, repeat after me, the dog can. Now, you might think this is an anomaly. You might think that me reading from a script is just some weird school. But I'm afraid things like this are just the tip of the iceberg of what our teachers are being asked to do. The teacher who's told to give model answers that can be regurgitated in the exam hall, or who is asked to quietly point out the wrong answer in exam conditions, is all too common. And that's why I want to ban teachers. But before we do, and before half of this room kills me, let's think how we've got to this position, to a situation where we're incentivizing this sort of behavior. Well, it's because of all of us. It's because we've started to equate good teacher with good grades. It's a little bit like the cheap and easily available clothing we're all wearing. In the back of our minds, we know this has been made in a South Asian sweatshop, but we're choosing to block that out. Sadly, teaching is covering a multitude of sins. Our schools have become exam result sweatshops. Parents demand more and more top-grade schools, and so teachers are just put to work to create these. And unfortunately, parent also means voter. And so, where mum and dad lead, the politicians follow. It's these guys that create the policies which maximize short-term attainment and their majorities, and mean that teachers focus on teaching to the test, on things like spelling tests and times tables, whether or not this is actually in the long-term interests of your child. It's a little bit like the child-stitched shirt I'm wearing. Your children's grades are something that you're happy are good, and we're not really questioning how they got them. You might be happy with this. You might think that's all a teacher is there to do, get the grades. But I beg to differ. I don't think what I've described here is an educator. I think I've described a cog in a machine. I've described a conformist that produces yet more conformists. Do we really want robots making robots? Shouldn't we be more ambitious? Not just for the children, but also for ourselves and the world that we're all living in. In the coming years, we're going to be facing huge global challenges. The environment's destroyed. We have a refugee crisis, and there's growing inequality in the world. The solutions to these problems are not going to come from people who've been taught to the test, but from minds that have been taught to think creatively, to question what they're told, and to dream. But if we want the children to help us build this future, we first need to ask for this in our teachers. We need to incentivize the person who helps a child to flourish, not in a 2-hour exam, but across their whole life. We need to find a way of rewarding the teacher who helps a child find a passion for philosophy, even when there isn't a GCSE at the end of it. That robot teacher will get your child A stars. There's no doubt about that. But will they teach them empathy? It's human beings that we want in classrooms. Okay, so I'm not naive. That's a big statement, and it's going to take a long time, a lot of people, and a lot of change to get there. But there's a simple thing that I think all of you can do today that'll help us down the road, and it's to think differently. So that's why I want you to ban teachers. The next time you hear the word, replace it. Replace it with a more accurate description, something which describes the how. So when Tina comes home and says, "My teacher read out from a book today," you can replace teacher with tape recorder. When Mohammed comes home and says, "My teacher's given me the mark scheme so I can learn what the examiner wants from me," you can replace teacher with drill sergeant. I think if we start to do this, listening to what's being said about teachers, we will not be happy. We'll see that really what we want to hear is that teachers are mentors. They're carers, intellectuals, philosophers, mad scientists, and artists. But if you want to hear this, it's all of you that have to demand it. You have to say this is what you want. The truth of our education system is a dirty one, but we need to look at it, think about it in order to change it. We need people who'll never be asked to read from scripts and who are ready to prepare our children for the 21st century. So let's ban teachers and get our educators back.